Welcome to part 2 of the Ultimate Guide to Warships. If you are completely new to Warships, I recommend watching part 1 first. This video will teach you how to easily get into Diamond every season. I strongly believe that everyone who is eager to get better at Warships can do so with minimum effort. Getting into Diamond early on in the season and climbing high into your own country's ranks is 90% a matter of choosing the right upgrades in the tech tree. And of course, fighting a few battles every day. So, let's start with the tech tree. You get a limited amount of keys and upgrade tokens throughout the season. The best way to spend them is to tech rush. With the tech rush, your goal is to get to the end of the tech tree as soon as possible. This means planning out the paths you will take to the next ER by spending as little keys as possible while getting the important upgrades. This will give you a tech advantage, meaning that you will become stronger than most players by getting to the next ER first and unlocking better upgrades before they do. A lot of players spend their keys as soon as they get them without thinking too much about it, or they want to unlock something which will help them on the short term, without realizing that it will cost them way more time to get to the good stuff. For instance, in Season 12, when you hit the 5th ER and unlocked Bombardiers, you would definitely beat almost every 4 ER player. A fair question would be, but if I unlock the 5th ER, wouldn't I be facing opponents with 5 ERs? That's true most of the time, but it works a bit differently when you grow along with the top players. Look at the player base as a pyramid. In the bottom layer, there are people who don't play Warships that much. In the middle are players which are bad at tech rushing and spend their keys on useless upgrades. There are only a handful of people who tech rush, and that's why the top player pool is small. And you are almost guaranteed to win against lower ER players. So even if you can't beat most of the other top players who tech rush, you will start facing lower ER players or players with the same level of ER which don't have a good base layout or aren't great at attacking, and you stay at a relatively high rank. So, how do you go about tech rushing? You have to plan out the optimal path to the next ER. Most of the time this means a straight path to the next ER with as little digressions as possible. To identify the optimal path, you need to know which upgrades are good. This depends on the tech tree, but as a rule of thumb, important upgrades are troop damage, troop health, building health, and building damage. For defensive buildings, shock launchers are always a must-have. They slow down opponents a lot and help against seeker attacks. More on seekers later on in this guide. Rocket launchers are often a good choice, especially in seasons which have a lot of bonus building damage. They are really expensive to upgrade though. Proto defenses can be great as well. Sky shields are often picked to give cover to shock launchers or ERs, so that people can't flare them or BART them. This brings us to BARTing. BART is short for barrage and/or artillery. Barrage is often a great choice when it comes early in the season. At max level it can be used to destroy an entire ER, or to destroy key defenses, or to clear a lot of mines. Artillery is a good pick for the same reasons, but it depends on the season. Let's get back to prototype defenses. The damage amplifier works great in high building damage seasons, especially combined with rocket launchers. Other nice proto defenses are the shock blaster, doom cannon, and grappler. We already discussed barrage and artillery, but let's go over the gunboat abilities. Shock bombs and flares are a must-have every season. Critters are great for clearing mines or destroying unprotected engine rooms. And bonus gunboat energy is always nice to have as well. Next up, troops. Newer players make the mistake of using many different troops in a single attack. Most of the time, you only need 1 or 2 different types of troops to battle efficiently. Almost every season starts out with a heavy rush. This is when you have unlocked heavies and flares. You will fill 8 boats of heavies and flare them to the ERs, taking them out one by one while ignoring all defense. A big help with the heavy rush is the hero Bullet. Bombardiers are a must-have. Their range and damage makes them one of the most used troops in warships. When you get to Bombardiers quickly, you just know that you will climb the ranks. Bombardiers are often coupled with some other tank troops. Think along the lines of 3 heavies and 5 bombardiers, or 2 heavy choppers and 6 bombardiers. Heavy choppers are amazing, and when a season has them in the tech tree, they are definitely involved in the endgame. Their tankiness is unmatched, and as if that's not enough, they drop heavies along the way. Seekers are great as well. They ignore all defenses and go straight for the nearest ER. However, using them takes skill. They are high risk, high reward. If you pull it off, you've probably gotten a better time than your opponent. But most of the time, only a small amount of the top players have the skill to use them properly. Other key upgrades are mines. You can never go wrong with mines. Especially shock mines are great to slow down your opponent and put a halt to most seeker attacks. The top tier heroes are Bullet and Kavan. Which one is better depends on the season and the meta. That was it for the upgrades. Once again, the most important thing in warships is getting to the next ER in the shortest amount of time while unlocking the best upgrades. The best upgrades depend on the meta. The meta is a period of time in which 1 or 2 specific ways of attacking is dominant. The heavy rush at the start of a season is a meta, for example. Top players often face different metas in early ERs than the rest of the players. Remember that pyramid? The top players are further along in the tech tree because they chose not to upgrade certain defenses or troops that the medium players are getting. A good example is the 4th ER of Season 12. The top players all chose this top path to the 5th ER. They took only what they needed and got to the 5th ER as soon as possible. The medium players got to the 4th ER later because of useless upgrades and went up against players who out-teched them. This trend continues by medium players who end up going different paths than the optimal ones, in this case going for rocket choppers and rocket launchers, which ends up making the 4th ER a lot more difficult to be in for those who are still stuck in there. And thus they create what is called the Dirty 4 ER. They chose upgrades which make them strong in their own delayed 4 ER meta. This is how there are different metas in the same ER for different types of players. The tech rush is always better, because, like in this example, someone who has a lot of great upgrades in the 4th ER will still lose to someone who has the 5th ER unlocked. Once the player with the Dirty 4 ER base unlocks the 5th ER, the top player will be well on his or her way to the 6th ER. So an important part of tech rushing is what I call staying ahead of the meta. Of course, the top players have their own meta, but with tech rushing you prevent getting stuck in an ER where you get out-teched by other players. Let's go over when to push. Pushing refers to fighting a lot of battles in order to increase your rank. Sometimes it's best only to battle in order to unlock chests. Once you unlock something great, it's time to push. At the beginning of the season, this is often just after you unlocked a new ER. Near the end of the season is mostly when you are at the end of an ER and are waiting to unlock the next one. Other great moments to push are when you unlock strong new troops, such as bombardiers, seekers, or heavy choppers. The final thing you need to know to roll with the top players is base defense. Every meta has top tier base defenses. Notice which bases you're having trouble with, and straight up copy them. There is no shame in doing so. You can just take a screenshot and copy it as best you can. Sometimes the placement of one defensive building can make all the difference. More importantly, stay in tune with the Warships community. There are a lot of great YouTubers out there who give detailed information throughout the season, myself included. I will give pre-season tips on tech tree pathing and detailed information throughout every season. You can also always ask your questions in the comments section. That was it for part 2 of the Ultimate Guide to Warships. With this information you should be able to get into Diamond halfway through a season. Soon I'll bring out part 3 in which I feature 10 tips and tricks to help with warships, and I will work on a heavy rush guide and a seeker guide as well. So good luck and stay tuned.